play mridanga? Mukunda, please go ahead. Hari bol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhams Parivrajacharya Ashtotra Srishtimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, obeisances to all the dear friends and visitors, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. So the topic for discussion today, dear friends, is spectrums, the spectrums of Bhakti. So, we all know what is a spectrum, right? There is a instrument which we used to use, and I think we was in 12th standard. It's called a spectroscope. To our, experiments in physics and chemistry. Each and every compound would emits particular type of light rays, right? And based on what spectrum is created by the pattern on the spectroscope, we could say how much of sodium is there, or how much potassium is there, how much metal is there, like that. So how much impurity is there in the particular block of iron could be understood by different, because you could see it is not just iron spectrum, it is also different spectrums are being emitted by that particular block, right? Some of you may remember this. This is very, very many years back. Right. So we'll try to explain this concept by a beautiful story. This is a time when Krishna was around 10 years and 4 months. A very decisive life, a very decisive time in Krishna's life. Why? Because that was a time when the chapter changed. That was more or less going to be the end of the Vrindavan chapter and the beginning of a new chapter unfolding in the life of Krishna and his devotees. And why was the chapter unfolding? Because Kamsa, the tyrant, the cruel ruler of Mathura and of the entire world, had sent Krishna's uncle, whose name was Akrura, being a confidant, he was in the service of Kamsa, was sent after Kamsa having realized that all the demons I had sent to Vrindavan, beginning with the first demoness, was that? Putana. Putana, followed by Bakasur, Aghasur, and the entire lot of demons, all were effortlessly killed by this one boy. There's one boy there who was killing everybody. These demons are someone who is also feared by the demigods. But this small boy is killing them. I think I don't want to send any more people to Vrindavan now because every day they are being killed. I will bring him to what they call as home pitch. So when the cricket team, is playing cricket in the home pitch, there is a high chance of winning, right? Rather than batting on Australian pitch or New Zealand pitch or Sri Lankan pitch, right? So he wanted to call Krishna into his own kingdom, and the person who would get them would be Akrura. So the coward boys headed by Nanda Maharaj and Krishna Balram, they enter the beautiful place. It's a very beautiful place, even though Kamsa was a tyrant, but his palace and his Mathura was exceedingly beautiful. The description Bhagavatam and Garga Samhita are exceedingly beautiful to be read. As Krishna is walking through the streets, he is glancing at the various residents, all the ladies are looking at him and he's giving them slight glances, right? And then Krishna just walks nonchalantly towards the Shivadhanush, right? And the Shivadhanush was given to him by the ancestors, and Kamsa had procured that. There's a story behind it, of course. And Krishna, it was a pride of Kamsa that I have the Dhanush of Lord Shiva. It's something to show to the world that I have something so wonderful, right? It was his pride, and therefore it was closely guarded. Krishna goes there, what does he do? Lifts it, strings it, cracks it, breaks it, finished, right? And they carry one is in Krishna's hand, other part is in Daoji's hand, and they both are walking like what they call in Hindi as Bhindas. Some of you know Hindi, may understand that, but basically it means they are absolutely fearless. They say as if it is their own hometown, it is the most cruel person's hometown. They walk through the streets, and then Krishna is walking, and then the next target, the next person who they were supposed to deal with was the big elephant called as Kovalyapida, who was an elephant, but you're not just an elephant, he was a mammoth. Mammoths are even more powerful than elephants, right? And these are Dwarka mammoths. And he was a very specially trained mammoth. He could fight wars. He had already won various wars for Kamsa. So he was highly trained. And his target was not to win a war, but his target was to kill this one person, Krishna, as soon as he enters the arena. And there's a whole story of how Kovalyapida attacks, and Krishna effortlessly dodging him first, going around and around, and then Krishna also finishes off Kovalyapida, right? And then he enters the arena, and now Kamsa's last bet is he has to face a gigantic, huge, muscular, powerful mystic wrestlers called Chanur and Mustika. So their bodies are, they said, mountainous bodies, huge bodies, right? And Krishna is tender youth, not even youth still, 10 years and 4 months. What can, Krishna is, looks like as if he cannot even, lift 15 kilos, like that, so thin. But the interesting thing is that as soon as he enters the arena, and the stadium is filled to packed, right, with people who are going to watch this wrestling match of Chanur Mustik and Krishna and Balram. At that point of time, Shukdev Goswami Maharaj, the celebrated author of Srimad Bhagavatam, gives a beautiful verse which is going to set the tone for our discussion today. I shall read it exactly from here so that I don't make a mistake. The important thing to note here is how are various people in the audience looking at this event of Krishna entering the arena. Okay? They all seeing the same person, but they're seeing him with a varied spectrum. Let's read it. The various group of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered with his elder brother. The wrestlers, please start noting down. The wrestlers saw Krishna as the lightning thunderbolt. The men of Mathura as the best of males. The women as Cupid in person. The coward men as their own relative. As they say, apna jaat wala, no? Like that. Is our relative. The empire's rulers as chastiser. His parents obviously saw him as their beloved son, beloved child. The king of the Bhojas, Kamsa, saw him as death personified. The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form. The yogis saw him as the absolute truth. And the Vrishnis saw him as their supreme worshipable deity. So you can see here, this verse has been analyzed very deeply. Some of you may have read this verse beginning with Mallanam. This is, just for those who want reference, I'll give the quotation. It is Canto 10, chapter 43, text number 17. Krishna kills the elephant Kolyapida. So we can see here the same person, Bhagavan, is been seen by a different lens, by different people. One is seen as their own beloved child who's harmless. What can the child here do? Another is seeing him as death. So there is a huge, what is called as a different, huge what? Spectrum, right? As an innocent, harmless child to someone who's saying that he is going to be the cause of my death, right? So dear devotees, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev has made Bhakti very interesting. Kapila Dev has given, as you know, the whole philosophy of Sankhya Yoga, which is deeply elaborated in the third canto. He says, Bhakti looks like one. Bhakti. We say, what is Bhakti? We say we're chanting Hare Krishna, eating prasadam, worshipping the deity. It looks like it's one sort of activity. But since he's a great analyst, Sankhya Yoga is about analysis. Sankhya, right? Sankhya is analysis. So he analyzed that there are 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam and Atma Nivedanam, right? But they are performed by different people who are not on the same level. Somebody is performing is in the mode of passion, somebody is in the mode of ignorance, somebody is in the mode of goodness, right? So that makes it 9 multiplied by 3 equal to 27, right? So you can be hearing in passion, ignorance or goodness, worshipping, right? So, and when you mix, and you could be doing Shravanam and Archanam in the different modes. You can do Kirtanam and Sakyam in different modes. So you have to multiply it by another 3. Therefore, it is 3 into 27 is 81. So ultimately, the Srimad Bhagavatam endorses that bhakti is performed in how many ways? 81 ways. Based on different spectrum of people who are performing them. Is it clear? Right. So, we will be discussing 81 types here. It will take only about 12 hours. And I think all of you are very enthusiastic to hear. I hear that devotees in Neel Madhav's temple are very enthusiastic to hear, because so many speakers come here and they're hearing them. So the appetite for hearing is increased, right? Yeah. So whatever time we have, we'll be dividing the discussion, dear friends, between today and tomorrow, right? So hope to discuss half, not 81, sorry. We want to we'll make it a reasonable number. But we'll discuss half topic today and half tomorrow. So I'm just, before I even start the discussion, I'm saying, please come tomorrow also. So, yeah. Boom, boom.
Sorry. So just like this beautiful pastime of Mathura, it explains that the same Krishna, but everybody sees him according to their own understanding and perception. Everybody sees that same Krishna according to their own understanding and perception. In the same way, what is the meaning of bhakti? Devotion, right? Devotion to whom? To Krishna. And Prabhupada translated devotion in a very wonderful way. Some translations of Prabhupada were very unique, we had never heard. Even though we are Indians and we are from pious families, some words we never heard. Like Prabhupada used the word mundane. Never heard the word mundane before. In reference to bhakti. Some he used unalloyed. Now there's no word like unalloyed. Prabhupada said it because alloy means admixture. Admixture. And Prabhupada spoke about what bhakti? Unalloyed. And he translated bhakti not as devotion but devotional service. Because bhakti, devotion in action is bhakti. Devotion in action is bhakti. Otherwise, you can just keep talking about devotional, devotion. But how does devotion translate in our life? One time Prabhupada was walking in Krishna Balaram temple, and this one devotee was standing there, and every time Prabhupada was taking a walk and he would come in front of him, he would say, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada walked past him and he took another circle, and then second time he said, Prabhupada ki Jai. Third time he turned and he just said, Prabhupada ki Jai. Fourth time he was about to say, and Prabhupada said, why don't you do something practical? Why don't you do something more practical instead of just, So same way, why did Prabhupada translate bhakti as not devotion but devotional service? Because when we do something on a practical level, then only we can develop that relationship with the Lord, and only then the devotion can grow, right? So all of us are on this journey. It's a journey. Where is the journey? Journey home. We are trying to go back to Godhead, and all of us are on a journey. Right now, if you see from down, we feel somebody is like way ahead, somebody is behind. But Krishna is watching from up, and we are all just, in the same crowd. Little bit aage piche, nothing much difference for him. However, if you are on a journey, then time to time we want to know what is the ET, right? What is the estimated time I'm going to take to reach home? Don't you feel? Suppose when we are coming to Seattle, Brajaman Prabhu kept messaging, it will take this much time, or some friend will say, how much more time, how far are you? Don't we feel like knowing? That is what the GPS tries to indicate to us. So here we are trying to analyze the GPS of our consciousness. What is the GPS of our consciousness? How far are we from the standards which Srila Prabhupada explained that defines pure devotional service, right? So by analyzing these different types of devotional service, what are we trying to do? We are trying to refine our bhakti. What we are trying to do? We are trying to resolve, and we are trying to reform. Refine, resolve and reform our bhakti by understanding the different aspects and the different varieties of devotional service that can exist. All come in the category of bhakti. But still it is simultaneously one and still different. Are we following the thought process? So that's why we say that it's a whole spectrum. It's a whole spectrum that from this side to that side, everything comes. But for our understanding, we are just going to try to analyze what are the different types of bhakti which some of us might be practicing. This is not defined in any scripture in that way, but just by meeting different... It's a more observational type of thing, that by meeting different devotees and by analyzing our own bhakti, we try to observe that what are the different varieties that by which we can practice this process, so that we can speed up our journey or stagnate or go down. Right? Only three things can happen. Nothing else can happen. Either we are where? Bhagavad Gita as it is, same place. Either we are going down or we are going up. Only three things can happen, right? So, but progress means what? We want to accelerate and go up, right? We don't. Who likes to remain in one place? Do we like to remain? Everybody likes to progress. That's why we always, whichever seminars we take, it is a progressive lifestyle seminar. Progressive attitude of a person always helps what? Growth. For growth, it's very important to be progressive. You cannot be the same and be happy and satisfied. One thing is, we should be, satisfaction is a good thing, but we cannot be satisfied with the standards that we are in. We always want to get better, improve. What can I do? What should I not do? Go ahead. So now for some time we will just analyze and go into the deeper aspects of the different types of bhakti which we observe. Okay?
One type of bhakti, among the more specific variety, which we want to take, the first one to take is called as intrusive bhakti. It's called as intrusive. What does intrusive bhakti mean? It means someone is intruding, or we call it as intrusion, right? Intrusion means somebody is actually having
interfering.
Having a great amount of influence on your bhakti, which is somehow having a negative influence in the performing of bhakti. We will clarify. So when we come to bhakti, it is not that automatically everyone around us starts accepting. Very good, very good. You're going to temple, very good. 16 rounds, very good. You're doing Ekadashi, very good. You're going to Yatras. There will always be some people who are pareshan with that, right? Could be our wife, could be our husbands, could be our parents, right? How many of you had experience of that when we go to bhakti, especially when you come young, that the parents, what do? They say, beta, very good, very good. They say like that. What do they say? Yeah. So they may, in the beginning, feel, oh, beta is, beta, beti is, they're becoming nice. They were atheistic before, now that is they're going to temple. But as ISKCON is a very powerful revolutionary movement. It really, as soon as you get into the movement, you start getting such higher taste. It's just the process is so exhilarating, right? So you want to get more and more and more and more deeply involved. And then the people get alarmed that he's going too fast and too deep, right? And then they start doing what? Somehow they want to put what? The GPS part. The car is accelerating, but then what they want to do? They want to, as she said, slowly retard the progress. And they start intruding the bhakti, right? So that intrusion is usually done, whether we accept it or not, by people who are very close to us. Those who are far from us, but say, what do I have to do? That is his life. But those who are very close to us, parents, close friends, right? Those who have some, what we call as area of influence, under whom we are having some area of influence. Parents have influence over us, friends have influence over us, right? wife and husband obviously have influence over each other, right? And they will say, this is going too far, right? And they will try to somehow or the other dissuade us from doing bhakti. And therefore, when they are interfering, then that loses enthusiasm. You lose enthusiasm for that. And it may in fact start even creating some conflicts at home. So you may have probably experienced that. It may cause some conflicts, right? And therefore, it is very important that we keep ourselves very clear that even though if anyone, bhakti is such a rare process, if anyone is actually coming the way, we should become very aware. Now, the classic example of this is the example of Kaikai. Now, she is absolutely by far the most beloved of Sri Ram, right? And yet, Mantra had the power to do what? Intrude in her love. Now, here is an example of almost unalloyed love, what she talked about, right? But even if you have a high degree of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even that is vulnerable, and somebody can, what they can do, they can intrude into that, right? And she not only intruded, she practically impeded and destroyed that love and converted that love into a hate. So the power of intrusion is not to be underestimated. There could be people, and did Kaikai ever feel that I have been getting poisoned by Mantra? Did she ever feel like that? The entire night he said, Mantra, you are my only hope now. You only tell me, na? This is always happening, right? I didn't ever think about this. Actually, you are more intelligent than me. That actually this all looks like a conspiracy. When my son is away, Shatrughan is away, this has been declared and it's all going to be happen just today, declared it, tomorrow it is going to be there. So fast. This looks like a well-planned affair just to keep my son away. Mantra, you are my loved one. You tell me what to do. And Mantra then started, rolling out her plan. And in one night, the poison acted and she became so vicious to become the cause of the death of her beloved husband. Right? This is the power of intrusion. Right? We can never underestimate. So, on the other hand, we find people like Lord Shiva sitting in the Daksha Yagya, right? And he's absorbed in his loving remembrance of Krishna. And somebody was trying to intrude into his relationship with Krishna. Who was that? Daksha, right? But he was so fixed in his bhakti that he completely neglected what he was saying. He was still very dhira jana priya karo. He was fixed in, he could not be disturbed by the criticisms, ridicule, and the blasphemy of Daksha Maharaj, right? So we can see here one is affecting, other is not being affected, right? So we have to create what is called as this protective kavach, whereby we keep this valuable jewel of bhakti so very much protected that people do not intrude into that. It should be something which we do bhakti on your own terms, based on your understanding, based on your convictions, based on your faith, based on your enthusiasm, and we shouldn't allow anybody else to really play a derogatory role in affecting the progress of our bhakti, right? So this is called as what? It's called as intrusive bhakti, right? So when we joined Krishna consciousness, I think most of us had experience. When I joined Krishna consciousness also, right? In the beginning, my parents did not suspect this, but as I became more and more involved, because of course many years back, but then they tried to really make, my mother would come and rub away my tilak, she would remove my kantimala, hide my bead bag, right? And say, you are not going to temple anymore, okay? You understand? So there was intrusion, but there was a powerful force of attraction from Krishna's devotees, and some of you were able to navigate that process. Of course, in due course of time, they all became very favorable, and they became devotees also. But there was a phase where we were vulnerable to becoming affected by them. And because they love us, we don't suspect that our bhakti is being impeded, right? So it can masquerade as love, but actually it is sometimes Maya uses the loved one to actually impede bhakti, right? This is called as intrusive bhakti.
The second type of bhakti is immature fanatic bhakti. It's bhakti, but it is immature and fanatic. What is the meaning of that? When we come to Krishna consciousness ourselves, we become so excited about the process. We want everybody else around us to become a devotee. And that too what? Fatafat. We just want, artificial ripening of mango. Like that, we just want things to happen at a top speed. And that's when we start imposing unrealistic we start practicing unrealistic standards. And especially this is seen by people around us. We may not notice. Again, it goes as enthusiasm, which is very good. But undirected enthusiasm could make us so immature and fanatic that instead of making people around us favorable, we make them antagonistic, which may even include non-devotees outside, right? Sometimes we try to practice bhakti in a very loud way, or we try to, show that we are very, overzealous about something. We try to do all of that. However, we lose the sensitivity of people around us. And what happens by doing that? We feel that we are trying to put a positive influence on the opposite people, but simply because of our behavior, people will never want to, come to Krishna consciousness. And again, I would like to give my own example. That when I joined Krishna consciousness, I started preaching to my father and mother. Can you imagine? I said, Papa, you should do this. You don't understand, and this and that. And he's looking at me, Acha. You are going to tell me what I should do and what I should not do. I have seen more Diwalis than you. And you start trying to tell him, Krishna is this and you should do this and whatever. Then it doesn't work. Then I started preaching to my sister. And then I was telling her, come to the temple and you should chant and you should... So many things I told her, and she was getting more and more antagonistic because I was very aggressive. And then one day, because she was out of frustration, I took her to my Guru Maharaj. And I said, Maharaj, just look, how much I'm trying to preach to her. That she should take up to Krishna consciousness. It's the best thing. How happy I've become. Maharaj this, Maharaj that. And Maharaj is just looking at me. And after giving my whole justification, then I said, Maharaj, what should I do to make her a devotee? I'm preaching to her so much. What else should I do to make her a devotee? So Maharaj said, stop preaching to her, she will become a devotee. And trust me or no, when I did that, she got initiated, Brahman Diksha, and she's, doing so much devotional service just because I stopped preaching to her. Because I was not doing it in the right way, right? Very immaturely, I was trying to convey the message of Krishna consciousnness. And that was resulting in conflicts. My bonds with my parents were weakening. My bonds with my siblings were weakening. And sometimes, when parents also try to do that to their children, then what happens? Their bonds start weakening. It becomes conditional love. What do children expect from parents? Unconditional love. Love means unconditional. But we make it very conditional. Like one of the devotee kids asked his father, Papa, can I have a ball and bat? So the father said, no. Jiva Goswami used to play with Krishna Balaram dolls. So I will give you only Krishna Balaram to play. Papa, all my friends are playing with ball and bat. No. That fanatic approach which he had, that just for a ball and bat he had to cry, that today that boy is grown up and he has children, but he can't forget this. My father did not give me a ball and bat because he thought what? That is Maya. Yeah. That is Maya. You will end up thinking like that. That is the way it is between father and children. Even between husband and wife, sometimes it happens like that. One boy was getting married to a girl and he phoned us and he's saying, Prabhuji, can you give your blessings? So we said, for what? So he said, Prabhu, I'm getting married and please bless me to be a Grihastha Sannyasi. and we were wondering, that from where did this term originate? Which verse, which chapter, which canto, like that. So either it's a Grihastha sannyasi. So we start a relationship on a wrong note, and we try to think that we are well-wishers, and we are well-wishers of our children, we are well-wishers of our partners, and we try to impose Krishna consciousness and Krishna conscious standards on them. And this is not only for new people. Even when we become 20-year-old devotee, 30-year-old devotee, every person has a different standard at which they want to practice bhakti. But we cannot try to impose our own standards on others. Somewhere it is, that we feel that we are doing things right. We are convinced that we are right and that's the way to do. You cannot demand anybody to do bhakti. I mean, you have to give such an example that they themselves feel like practicing. Suppose that example of every time the husband will come and he will ask, you read Bhagavatam? How many rounds you have done? Did you go for Sunday feast? What service? I mean, that's all. Every day you come back and that's all you have to ask. Which canto you have reached and now how much you have read and how many rounds you are chanting. Is there nothing else to talk about? But this immature approach creates such barriers in relationships between close ones. Close ones, far ones, whoever, So we have to understand that we have to be very, very sensitive and increase our EQ. We need to increase our EQ in such a way that people can feel inspired by example, and otherwise we are not walking our talk. And that instead of positive, it has a very negative effect, right? So what we have to do is, we have to respect each person at the level at which they are and try to uplift them, not impose our views on them, and we must try to understand that whatever we are doing in our life, we have to take everybody along with us, not try to, pull and push somebody in our life, right? So that type of bhakti can never inspire anybody. So we want to become more, as we say, Dhanurdhar Maharaj says, normal devotees. Normal. Whatever we are doing, most of us are family people here. We are not sannyasis or brahmacharis that, we can live in a artificial platform. Not that brahmacharis, and because their ashram makes them live a life of tapasya, a life of like that. But as grihasthas, we have to be little more realistic and do things in such a way that it is going to make bhakti more appealing to people around us to do. And people must look at our example, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by devotees from Kulinagram that who is a Vaishnav? So he didn't say Vaishnav is one who preaches very strongly Krishna consciousness or preaches this or preaching that, right? A Vaishnav is a person by looking at whom you will remember Krishna. Just by looking at whom you feel like becoming a devotee, right? Some people you look at and you feel, is this what it means to be a devotee? I am better off not being a devotee. And some people you look at them and say, wow, is this what a devotee is? I want to become like him, I want to become like her. That's what it means to be a devotee, right? So we have to be very, very careful from not becoming victims of practicing this immature, fanatic type of bhakti. Is that making sense to us? So this was the second one. I will take the third one.
These are all observational situations. In the beginning of our Krishna consciousness, we often try to be little more fanatical. You may have probably noticed that in the beginning we are very hard on ourselves and hard on others. And over a period of time, mostly we will become more, as they say, sober and normal. Right? The essential thing here is be normal, right? Do not try to be on an artificial platform of being very advanced and following some very, very strict vows and strictness, which is, you're not going to really be disturbing to ourselves and people around you, right?
So I just remembered something.
Yeah.
Where, some people want, that I'm in bhakti, I want renunciation,
Detachment.
Detachment. When we met for the first time, the first thing Prabhuji told me, like for marriage we were meeting for the first time. So first thing he told me that, Vishakha, I would not appreciate, I don't want you to be a PP. So I was not understanding what's a PP. He said, don't try to be a premature Paramahamsa. Don't try to be a premature Paramahamsa. Because by nature I am an extremist. Sometimes, we may just try to do like that. So he was just, you have to understand that we have to be more realistic, more practical, more patient with others and with ourselves. And not try to be on an artificial platform, which we are not, which bhakti is an organic growth. Renunciation is an organic growth. It comes over time, not on the first day. That I want to have this and I want to have that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's right. You can't talk about detachment on the very first day of marriage, no? You're getting attached. You have the sari and dhoti tied together today, and then next morning, say, what about detachment? That is called as fanatical. So, the third type of bhakti, which is again observed among our fellow Vaishnavas, various temples, various communities, is called as stressed out bhakti. See, all of you are laughing, so you're probably understanding what I'm going to say. That means that we take bhakti in such a way that it goes into a level of significant dysregulation of our life, right? It puts the life into complete state of imbalance, right? And when it gets imbalanced, how do we know that, that our what are the symptoms of this restored bhakti, right? It will lead to abnormal exhaustion of the body and mind, right? That your body's capacity, but you're getting exhausted fast. Second thing is you may become very irritable and snappy. Have you noticed that sometimes when you are stressed out, that you get you shout at your children, you shout at your husband, right? And third thing is, all the trivial things become very, very, unfortunately, very important for you at that time. They're trivia. Something happened which is like very normal. You can just, it's not even hit the brain at all, but it can become a very important. Why did you do that? Why did you say that? Right? Because actually you are, so one should say you are stressed out. Nothing is wrong, everything is fine, everything is going on well. You just need to take some rest, right? Devotees try to sometimes, you see, Grihastha life is not easy, my dear devotees, right? Even though we know we must perform devotional service, there's a lot which is expected out of Grihasthas. A lot is expected, right? Getting up in the morning, doing the arati at home, then doing your sadhana bhakti, then going for a job. And these days jobs are not like, aram se, like earlier, they said, which job, bank job, bank job. So in India, they would say bank job, matlab, aram se, like, but not like that. Nowadays, it is very competitive. You don't know whether pink slip, yellow slip, green slip, yellow slip, whatever, different colors of slip may come up in you, right? You don't know that, right? So you have to keep on struggling. You have to keep on updating yourself with newer technologies, newer informations, newer advances. Doctors have to keep on reading new journals, and you have to be updated with that. So you keep on updating. Very complex. Come home, you're tired, exhausted. Some rounds are remaining. Some program is there. It could be that there will be a lot of temple programs can also cause stress. Can happen like that. The temple has so many programs, right? That there is a program every day. There's a invite comes. This devotee is coming from this place. That devotee is coming from that place.
Somebody is coming from Mars. Somebody is coming from Jupiter.
Devotees keep coming. Different visiting Vaishnavas are there. This particular Swami is coming. This particular wonderful Vaishnava is coming, and that's nice. That's wonderful. But the point is, can we attend all the programs? with our job, with our children, growing children. When they are small, less responsibility. As they grow, more responsibility. As they grow, more responsibility. As they grow, teenage, even more responsibility. Oh my God, right? Managing all that. And then we have to sleep. What about sleep? And then people, devotees, sometimes sleep at 10, sometimes at 11. And if you are really, really in a stressed out mode, you may be sleeping at 12 midnight, right? And if it has one day, body can handle. But if it happens frequently, the body will go to a lot of physiological change. You don't even know it, but in terms of Ayurveda, your Pitta and Vata will definitely go completely off track. And most diseases are caused by imbalance of Vata and Pitta in the body. Whether it is migraine or it is backaches or diabetes, fatty livers, metabolic syndrome, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, or even cancer, right? These are all caused by the sleep is important part. The sleep is a part when we actually de-stress the body. And when we get over-involved with programs and activities or responsibilities, right, beyond our capacity. Everyone has a capacity to do things, right? But we keep on taking more. Or dil mange more wala chakkar, that is nice. But we keep taking more, but there is a threshold beyond which the body will start cracking. Everyone has a particular type of threshold. Just like you can lift, 15 kilos, 20, 25. Beyond that, your muscle will tear. If you go beyond that, your muscle. There are so many gymnasium patients who come to us as doctors, right? Who come with backaches, torn muscles because, they try to lift more. Trainer says, yes, madam, you can do more. Yes, sir, go ahead, you can do more. And they take more, and boom, the muscle is torn. MRI shows torn muscles, torn tendons, right? They went more. They created more stress on the muscle. So something that can happen to us. So dear devotees, and that stress can be such that small disagreements which definitely take place in the house, if in a stressed out mode, it can turn into a quarrel. And quarrel can escalate into a verbal fight, right? Something very insignificant has happened, just a spark can turn into a fire. Like I was telling our devotee, we were, tadka is all right, but bhadka nahi hona chahiye. Some tadka is, tup, sup. Amma tadka takes place, vagar ho gaya, tadka laga ke, dal mein dal diya, chauk khatam, right? But if bhadka hota hai, bhadka means it is like uncontrolled explosion. So when we are stressed out, our brains don't work properly. Our rational thinking is affected. And the control over our mind is lost. Right? So this is called as symptoms of stress bhakti. What is the solution? If this is the problem, everyone can identify with this. This has happened to you sometimes. Do devotees feel like that? Right? Hare Krishna. So, we may want to do so many things, and it's nice, but everything's, the key word here for Shreshtha Bhakti is only one, and that is balance. Balance your work-life balance, your family time, important, your sleep time, important, right? Your sadhana time, important. We can't eat away from these things. They are absolutely very, very important, basic things, right? And if you go beyond that, the remedy is to regulate. From time to time, take a break. Take a break. If you go on at a high speed, your family life high speed, your spiritual life high speed, your responsibility in office high speed, you're just going high speed all the time, right? So when you drive a car high speed, what happens? If you go a little bit off track, there is going to be what? All of you drive cars, all of you drive at speed. We have seen so many accidents. But if you drive at a moderate speed, at 60, 70, less chance of an accident. Correct? So please regulate your life. Now we sometimes talk to our devotees and when we give talks and seminars, we tell, please do some exercise, for example. Because exercise is a powerful way of increasing the body's ability to handle physical and mental stress. But said, Prabhu, where is the time? I'm struggling with my 16 rounds first.
We are not the body.
And we are not the body. want to talk of that. The previous type of bhakti we talked about, fanatical bhakti means we're not the body, right? When I'm just going to the previous topic, when we began the hospital at Mumbai, Mira Road Bhaktivedanta Hospital, there were many devotees who said, Prabhupada said hospital means Maya, because we are not the body. This is all philanthropy, right? And then they all got sick. They all had to come to the hospital. Barabar. Hospital, Bhaktivedanta Hospital is there, is very nice because we have all these problems, we should come. So it was a fanatical approach. We don't need hospitals because you're not the body. So please, dear devotees, regulate and organize your life. Organize your life. Let it not be just as things come up, keep coming, you keep going, keep coming, going. But there has to be particular principles based on, when Prabhupada was there in this world, you may remember, he told Giriraj Maharaj, right? It's a small pastime, you may remember. I just want to make you remember this pastime. It's very simple but very important thing. Why? Because it's a very crucial part of Prabhupada's life. This is just a few days before Prabhupada's departure from the world. Maybe only 15 days, right? This is in, of course, Brajadham, and Prabhupada is in a beautiful room. And then it suddenly called Giriraj. So Giriraj Maharaj comes. This has never happened because Prabhupada knew that through the entire day devotees worked so hard for Krishna Balaram Mandir, doing so many services of various types because manpower is not there. There are no devotees helping, right? There's only full-timers helping and so many services. And it was very unexpected and unusual for Prabhupada to call somebody from a tiring day at 2 a.m. in the morning. Very unlikely. Giriraj Maharaj gets up, he's a little nervous. What is Prabhupada? Something happened to him. And what is wrong? He just goes to him, offers Prabhupada and says, Prabhupada, you called for me? He said, Prabhupada. He opened his eyes and said, Giriraj, how will the movement continue in the future? The Acharya's heart is palpitating with anxiety that after I leave this world, and Prabhupada obviously knew that he is not going to live too long, how will the movement continue? Right? Very, very natural anxiety for the founder of the Acharya movement, right? So what is the movement? And Giriraj Maharaj is very intelligent. He may give the right answer. Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, don't worry. And the devotees are there, your books are there, your examples there, we will continue. Prabhupada just looked. He didn't respond yes, he didn't say no. Then Prabhupada thought for a while and said, organization and intelligence. 2 words, right? And then he didn't elaborate on this at all. He didn't give a purport to these words. And then Giriraj Maharaj said, yes, Prabhupada, organization and intelligence. I said, now go to sleep. So this, my dear devotees, is Prabhupada's last instructions to all of us practicing devotees. Applicable not only for institutions and temples, but also applicable to individuals and communities, right? Each and every community has to organize itself. Each and every family has to organize itself. Each and every individual has to organize his life by intelligent planning, right? So keep your life in a particular type of framework, right? Some emergencies are fine when we may escalate beyond, but if all times we are firefighting and going beyond, it's going to take a toll, right? Similarly, stress can be created not only by health, it can be created by lack of planning. Whatever planning we need, well, we also need as Grace's financial planning. Now we know devotees who have been in the movement for a while, but who are so much involved with what we call as bhakti, which is nice, right? But they forgot that they are grihasthas. They have to manage their finances, right? For themselves, for their future, for their savings, for the emergencies, for their children, for the insurance, everything else, right? If they haven't taken proper guidance from a person who is knowledgeable in this field, they may pass their life towards nearing retirement age and still be in anxiety because they haven't managed their finances. So each and every devotee, please do not remember that while we are involved with devotional service and other things, we must also plan our finances, right? So these are some very important things we're talking about. As we said, one way to handle stress is to take rest, take periodic breaks. Sometimes just sitting in silence with your own selves. What is called as solitude helps, right? On one hand, we stress association, but don't forget sitting in solitude means associating with your own self, right? We're just sitting with our own selves and thinking about how my life is going. Am I doing the right things? Just examine your own life. Examine your family life. Just think about what you're supposed to do and how, whether everything is going fine. That is called as introspection, right? So there's some remedies regarding health. Of course, people can take supplements to reduce stress. There are supplements, that is pranayama. We won't do all that in detail today, but just I'm mentioning these names. Pranayama is good for reducing stress, good rest and sleep at the proper time, early to bed, early to rise, as you know, makes healthy, wealthy and wise. That still holds true. Most diseases are caused these days by sleep disorders. So these are all called as stressed out bhakti, right? Therefore, devotees, please become mindful, because we want to serve Krishna. Why are we talking about these things? But thought, what is this type of talking this is being going on? No, my dear devotees, this is very practical. We want to be healthy and peaceful in mind and body and have happy families, right, till the end of our lives. We don't talk about bhakti in a very short-term way, right? And you get burnt out with a lot of responsibilities, lot of services, lot of bad management of your life. You get burnt out completely, and that may really, really throw you out from the part of the bhakti itself, because I can't handle this anymore, right? Better to be more consistent rather than be aggressive in your bhakti, right? Just be more consistent. That consistency is very important, rather than just being overzealous and getting burnt out. So please avoid the syndrome of stressed out bhakti. ठीक है? Okay.
Even Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who is our Grihastha Acharya. Most of the Acharyas, they were sannyasis, right? Babajis, sannyasis, but Bhakti Vinod Thakur is our Grihastha Acharya. So for all of us Grihasthas to observe what he did is very ideal for us to learn from and imbibe in. And what did he do? If you read his Dincharya, his daily life, you will see that a considerable time in the day he would walk up and down in his veranda, and what would he do? Plan. He would plan. He would plan his day, plan his preaching, plan his profession. He was a magistrate. He was a responsible person, right? He was not not doing anything and just doing japa whole day.
Bhajan.
But he was not only doing bhajan, but he spent a considerable time planning. So as they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan your life, then you plan to fail in your life. And several times we have experienced that this happens. So please, we plan to organize your life in what way? What are the areas which require focus? What requires some change? And on a periodic basis. It's not that the day you get, a jhatka, that I have to do something, I'll end up doing, and then you just forget about it. Change has to be a periodic thing, because how we do blood tests and all, right? To have a healthy body, you cannot just do blood test when you are born. You have to do every few years, you have to have, even companies will do for you. Why? Because they want you to be healthy. A healthy body has a healthy mind. A healthy mind will lead to healthy habits, whatever behavior, whatever we are doing. So how everything is connected. So we should not be immature, as we mentioned in the previous bhakti, that we are not the body and neglect our bodily needs and neglect our family needs out of our immaturity and everything. Every bhakti is connected to each other and leading us to the path of Shuddha Bhakti. We call it Shuddha Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti. Right? Several terms are there for bhakti which have been mentioned. So we must learn this art, that time to time we sit down and forget giving time to family, forget giving time to other service and all. Today for my emotional health, my own emotional health, I need some me time. people in doing so many responsibilities. I have to give time to temple, I have to give time to family, I have to give time for profession. You just don't do anything. One Mataji, during COVID time, one of our very senior Matajis in our temple, she said that in so many years I never got time to sit and do anything. Because I was busy making dresses for the deities, I was busy doing, giving Mataji's preaching program, whatever, so many things, cooking for the deities, for devotees, having program and all. I really forgot that, I have some needs. I just now feel like doing what? I want to just sit under a tree and just read Bhagavatam, My need is there. I want to do some stitching. I want to do some crochet. I want to do some painting, right? And I just neglected that. Yeah, my hobbies, which are like not our hobbies. What hobbies are devotees going to have? Not drinking and smoking. These are all very pure habits. But I never landed up doing all this. And whole life I was stressed out. She said, actually I feel like thanking COVID. Felt like thanking COVID that it gave a break. That I could even analyze my life, how it was going and do things. And after COVID, then things became little more smoother. Even we had that experience. In Bombay, life is very erratic. Somehow your work culture in US is much better than us in Bombay. At least you all wind up your work. Somebody said, oh, I work very late, I come home. So what time you come home? 6:30, 6:45. We said 6:30, 6:45 is very early for Bombay. People come home at 11:30, 12 in the night at Bombay, right? And what are you going to talk of your sadhana? And what are you going to talk of association? Which festival are you going to attend by coming home at this time in life, right? However, we need to just try to see that what changes I can make, and that nobody else can suggest. Only we can understand, because who knows the intricacies of my life better than myself? So even when COVID came, we also reorganized our life. We would ourselves sleep daily at 11:30, 12 before. But then because COVID, there were no programs happening, nothing. So somehow we decided to make this change. Let us try to sleep at 9:30 and try to not pick up our mobile. The screen time mobile has become so addictive now that immediately as soon as you are doing anything and there's a tidding, where is it? You start getting withdrawal symptoms, if I don't touch the mobile, something will happen, something immediately, somebody needs me, like somebody needs me, or I get a FOMO that I'm missing out on something. Nothing is going to happen. No world is going to fall apart or anything. Just relax. So we started sleeping at 9:30, and can you believe for a week, 10 days, 15 days, we would not get sleep. Because you're not used to sleeping at 9:30. Even though there was nothing to be done, we couldn't sleep only. So we took some sleeping pills and tried to, for some time you have to get your body adjusted to do that. And after that, after those 10, 15, days, instead of concluding that no, it doesn't work and going back to 11:30, 12, we kept persistently trying to regulate our life. And after that, it has helped us so much that we feel doing the same amount of work, but we feel less stressed out. Because there is no end to the stressors which the material energy can give us. And stressors don't come announced. They are going to be unannounced. So if you are not going to be prepared for, any unforeseen situations and all, we will crack. We will crack. Our relations will crack. Everything. So let's not wait for emergency, that something happens and only then we take care of our health. Take care of ourselves. Some big health crisis come and then we realize, I should have done this. One of the partners leaves because they're frustrated, fed up, and they say, okay, now I should. Why wait for extreme situations to come before we, de-stress ourselves and do things on a more regulated way? Why? Because we want to be long-term batsmen. We don't want to do short-term shooting stars, that we do. There's a life ahead of us and we want to serve till the end of life, not just, right now, here and now. So these were just some of the 3 bhaktis that we took today. Tomorrow we will be taking the other bhaktis: confused bhakti, complacent bhakti, dual standard bhakti, and sub-religious bhakti. We will be taking up these 5 tomorrow and see that how it applies, what way, and then see that how we can all, by handling these type of bhaktis and understanding, we sometimes don't even know, we might be practicing one or more of these, and because we get stuck up at this, we are not able to practice Shuddha Bhakti. But we only want to aim for the rhinoceros, which is Shuddha Bhakti and nothing less than that. Right? So thank you, Hare Krishna, for today. We don't want to stress you all out too much.
Yeah, because devotees said, Prabhuji, this is very nice to hear, but apna program sadhe 9 ko khatam hota hai.
But
Then there is prasadam, then we go home at 10 o'clock. How can you sleep at 9:30 if your program gets over at 9:30? Right? So we want to walk our talk. We want to end here. But of course, there are some 1 or 2 questions and some maybe comments. We will take a few comments and then we should wind up with not too much delay. Anyone like to say something, ask something? Mataji, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Mataji. My question is, you told about...
is it on?
Yeah. You told about being fanatic. So how we self-analyzed about ourselves, that is it, are we becoming serious or are we becoming fanatic?
Good question. Because I was fanatic, I'm taking. What is the difference in being fanatic and serious?
Mataji, I think from your lecture I understood it is being insensitive, that is my understanding, but I want more clarification.
You judge a thing by the result. You will be able to judge something by the result. So, sincerely trying to do something doesn't necessarily have to be that we are fanatic. Even maturely, when you do something, sensitively you do, a sincere person will do it like that. But fanatic necessarily doesn't mean we are sincere. We could just be hyper about something and not do things in the right way. So we must definitely be sincere, but understand the boundary, that when that sincerity crosses over and goes into fanaticism and affects people around us.
Setting utopian standards for ourselves or for others without having the necessary qualification or adhikar, that is called as fanaticism.
Unrealistic.
Right? For example, Prabhupada has stressed so much about Mangala Arati. You find many purports and talks about Mangala Arati, right? Now, there were devotees who are coming for Mangala Arati every day. They were living maybe 15 kilometers away from our temple, from different temples. And the child was very young. They had one child, the child was very young. And because Mangala Arati was stressed, and they had heard about Mangala Arati and read about Prabhupada's books, so they would bring their sleeping child every day to Mangala Arati. Right? The child is, Mommy, Mommy. So the guy wants to sleep, right? But the mother wants to go to Mangala Arati, right? So mother brings the child on her shoulder, puts him on the side of the temple. He just sleeps on the side of the temple somewhere. On the hard ground somewhere. Poor fellow has no chadar, no pillow, no bed, no fan, kuch nahi. He's just sleeping on one side and kirtan is going on here. Dum, 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 dum. Tulsi puja, Narsingh puja is going on. And he just, and actually gradually, the child started complaining. And child started rebelling. Right? When he was very young, he had no understanding. He was like 3-4 years old. He doesn't know what's happening. But as he started growing, he started rebelling. Right? I don't want to go to temple. I don't want to go to temple. I don't want to go to temple. Right? And when he started becoming so strong, then they went and discussed with the spiritual master. What happened? He said, Master said, don't come for Mangala Arati. For you, your son is like a deity. Good upbringing of your child in a balanced way will make you more happy than fanatically going for Mangala Arati every day. So, what I said was, she said for herself utopian ideas, right? You're a grihastha, you're staying not now in the temple. You're staying, you have to take out your car and drive every day and come. But, and they have to leave the house to reach at 4:30, they have to get up at 3:30, right? Imagine a young child who needs so much sleep and not giving the sleep. Is it not an act of cruelty to the child? Right? In the name of spiritual, but she has justification. Prabhupada said it. But it was a utopian idea without having the adhikar to understand that there is something else which is getting severely disturbed. This is an example of fanaticism.
Even to neglect our prescribed duties and do that, as he's saying. Like one Mataji, she again, every time there was a festival in the temple, she would tell her family that today I have to go to make offerings at the temple. Today is Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj's appearance day, today is Gaur Kishore Das Maharaj's disappearance day. So the husband felt everybody appears and disappears. We will disappear at this rate. You are going and making offerings over there. What about our offering? Who is going to feed us, So fanatic is not doing a prescribed duty and going. Sincerity would mean I cook at home, I do everything, what is expected, and then I go to the temple. That is sincerity. But this is fanaticism. You get the difference?
Yeah. See, devotees have, there are some funny things also I can tell you. That the father would not embrace his child. The child is going to, Papa, If I embrace the child, what will happen? I become attached. And the goal of life is Vairagya Vidya Bhakti Yogam. Shikshartham Eka Purusha Purana. Sharira Dhari. Right? Sarvam Bhattacharya said this beautiful sloka. I want to follow Sarvam Bhattacharya. Vairagya Vidya. So if I embrace my child, no Vairagya, attachment. So they will not embrace their child. Can you even imagine this, Mataji? What a craziness is going on here. Right? So we don't want to give you too many examples here, but we have seen enough. But you're giving us just a little sample to understand that you are talking about utopian idea, but you don't on that platform. You have to practice, as we said, normal. The child, having affection between child and father is absolutely normal. You don't have to philosophize that. Do you need to philosophize that relationship? No. Let it flow. Papa and child ka natural affection, let it flow the way it's supposed to flow. Why you want to philosophize that in some sloka voka and everything else you want to add to that? Not necessary.
Lakshmi also. The child is asking that I want to join these classes to do. The father will say, no, I don't have money to give. And the next minute there is a phone call and somebody else, like temple needs money or some other devotee needs money, he will give money there. The child is watching this, right? That I have a hobby, small hobby, which I want to join some classes and I want to do, and you don't want to give me money for that. And you are giving double the money to somebody else, you are giving to temple, and the father is saying that is Krishna conscious. That money is going for Krishna consciousness, but this is unnecessary. Might be unnecessary, but the child has some needs, the child has some this thing. So again, just understanding things in the right perspective. That by what do people around us need? They need love, they need affection, they need empathy, they need sensitivity. So if you do things in that way, then they will automatically take up to Krishna consciousness like a fish takes to water. You see the children who grow up in those type of environment, they will not be like that. More or less. Karma is a different thing. But more or less, it doesn't happen. But sometimes when we have landed up neglecting our responsibilities, then we land up regretting later on.
I hope that is clear, Mataji. Yes.
Mike.
Prabhuji, actually, I wanted to ask one more thing. so Prabhuji, sometimes we also, Mataji also, that we also justify ourselves not doing something more on the name of being fanatic, like, oh, this is so fanatic, don't want to do too much. So how do we like, for example, like some things are necessary, like
Yeah,
we
you
are
have to
asked
give an
do.
example, then we'll be able to answer better.
Yeah, so in our busy lives, some things are required to progress us in bhakti, like reading every day, hearing every day. We are asked to do these things, but it's not possible. But then we push ourselves, and how you said, but balance is necessary. But then
So yeah, so see, if you're talking about reading,
it will make us
it is not
serious.
fanatical, Mataji, it's not fanatical. But if you tell them I want to read for 4 hours, Prabhupada said, there are, Prabhupada has given various quotes, right? Austerity means reading my books for 3 hours every day. And austerity is very nice in Krishna consciousness. But if you start reading 3 hours in a day, what will happen? If you actually take that word, if you take it literally of Prabhupada, out of context, just take it, I should read 3 hours every day. Is it possible? No. So you can, yes, within your busy life, you may say, okay, I must read 10, 15 minutes every day. Fine. But when you have abnormal standards when you set for yourself, abnormal level of strictness, abnormal schedules you set for yourself, that is what we say. Okay, you want to go to the next level, make small steps you are taking towards that, a little more, a little more, a little more. As he said, without disturbing our health, our sadhana, our family and prescribed duties, definitely, we don't want to become, sort of.
It's a very thin line. What you are saying is very nice point you brought out, that there's a very thin line between understanding that what I should do and I should not do. In no way we are trying to say that, attending Mangal Aarti is always fanatic. No, for one man's food is another man's poison. If I don't have anything and if I still don't attend Mangal Aarti, then I am lazy. I attend Mangal Aarti. But if I just have a newborn child, if I have that, then I have to understand. So what is a sign of sincerity? That we understand principles and apply it to your life. It's like a formula, right? You cannot have a standard formula. You cannot have a standard formula for every bit. Every person cannot have, no? Your life and my life is same? It's completely different. So the maturity is one who applies the DKP formula. What is DKP? Desh, Kal, Patra. Apply this formula. Formula means you apply it and it has to give the right answer. So if you apply the formula of Desh, Kal, Patra, that what is Desh means not which country you are living in. What is the situation? What is the time? What is the Patra? The person whom it is being applied. Then you apply the formula. Like one person asked the question in Bhagavatam class that, Maharaj, you say that attending festivals, we should come for all the festivals and everything, but all festivals get over at 10:30 and we are staying 1.5, 2 hours away. By the time we reach home, it becomes 12:30 and then, our sadhana gets affected. So I feel that what is more important? That I attend the festivals like Janmashtami and all these festivals which get over late, and my sadhana is affected in the morning, or I should just focus on my sadhana and miss the festivals, right? And everybody was waiting for an answer. What is Maharaj going to answer? Which is important, this or that? But in Krishna consciousness, usually it is not this or that, it is this and that. And how can you do this and that? By understanding the principle. That if Janmashtami, obviously Krishna is born at 12 o'clock, so you have to be there, no? At that time you cannot say that, I have to, sleep at 9 o'clock because, let Krishna, that's his problem when he was born. I have to sleep, right? We can't do that.
In the seminar they had said sleep at 9:30.
But on an ordinary day, who is stopping us from doing? So again, there can never be black and white answers. Understand the principles, and your sign of sincerity, my sign of sincerity is how I am able to apply those principles to my situation in life. And even my situation will differ. Desh, Kal, Patra keeps changing every day. Cannot be the same, right? that answer? Prabhuji had.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class. Thank you for highlighting that, you're saying you said in the seminar that you have to become normal. So that was very interesting. I wanted to ask you about, like sometimes we have done some certain level of practice and certain style of doing things in terms of sadhana services. And at other times in life, to switch that also becomes difficult.
To switch?
Gear.
To switch the
gear.
gears and reprioritize and things like that, it becomes very hard. Like somebody who's going to morning program every day, for them to understand the change in the situation, getting married, having children, and switching to the change becomes very difficult. So I was having one conversation with one of my two monk friends, whom I was taking them in the car. One of them in the early 40s, he tried to change his ashram to Grihastha ashram. And the other monk was playing a devil's advocate for him. So he was like, then he was saying that I am not able to do justice to my psychophysical nature. I was thinking that I am a monk. Because of so many services for last 20 years, I never thought about it. And the moment the COVID break came, I realized that I am actually not a monk material. The other person was saying that, Abhi 40 tak aa gaya, life, like you have got to 40. In 10 years, is what's the point of getting married? So hearing the conversation, I also felt like, I'm not referring to the monks' problem here, but the problem of two things playing in our mind. The resistance to change and the idea to stick on with whatever we have been doing. Sometimes it becomes a difficult thing. So like how do we basically address that? Especially when you have done some things for too many years.
Yeah. Yeah, so as we say, changes will always take place in life. No? Nobody's life has remained the same. You were in college, then you got married, then you got children, then you had more responsibility, then you had a different job. So at every stage of life, you will see there are constant changes. The beauty of life is the power to adapt to change. That's the beauty of life, right? So when we understand that, when we have that power to adapt, then it becomes very natural for us to keep on, adapting. In nature also, you see that adaptation is the way to survive. Otherwise, you cannot survive. When there is, cold season, the sheep will automatically get thick hair, which acts as wool, and the sheep is protected, right? Or the snake will shed all the old skin, so it gets a new fresh skin. The old skin is not going to work too well. So in nature also, you see constantly that adaptation is there. So we also will have to adapt. Otherwise, the adaptation is not there. That means we are going to create some imbalance in life. Some imbalance will take place, right? Even though if it is a good conditioning, like you said, it's a good habit, right? But we have to keep that habit on, but apply it to the new situation now. It is not that thing is wrong, what you said, attending Mangalarti. It is great. But now, okay, Mangalarti is great, but now, should I stop attending Mangalarti? Maybe I can attend on Saturday and Sunday. Because other days I'm working, no? So I have to, it makes become late. But Saturday, Sunday, I'm a little, through late hoega chalega, right? So I'll attend. So we are not saying to change means stop everything. But we need to keep on modifying it as per the situation, right? That happens after marriage. The girl is, for women, of course, they are in the mother, parents' house and they get married. How much adaptation they have to go through? It's nature's way, They're staying in somebody else for 25 years and now they come to a new house, a new papa, a new mommy, a new mama, and then, a new husband. What kind of a person he may be, But she has to adapt to the new house, new culture, new family, new eating habits, etc. So adaptation is something which nature has implanted into routine life, right? So we adapt. We are not saying something is good or bad, right or wrong. It is not the mood, tone of what you're talking about. This is bad, this is good. No, it's about learning to adapt to the time, place, and circumstance. Now I'm married, this thing is different. Right? You are not, earlier you would probably, as a monk or an unmarried person, would read Bhagavatam for 2 hours. But you come home and you start taking Bhagavatam for 2 hours, and wife is waiting, when will you stop reading? And I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him about what happened today. Let me finish. 2 hours, right? And then she's not able to, sort of express herself. So that may not be good. So, okay, is reading Bhagavatam bad then? No. It's okay, can I, you read Bhagavatam for maybe 1 hour now, right? And you give some more time to your wife, because, there has to be expression of exchange and sharing. You understand, right? So it's about just adapting to the situation. It's not about good, bad, and right and wrong. Vaishnavism is not about right and wrong. Vaishnavism is not about good and bad. It's beyond all these things. Is it okay? Make sense?
Okay, will you stop? Right.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. As we see in Seattle itself, as we see within our Seattle congregation, right, we are all primarily consisting of Grahasthas. And ISKCON Seattle is not different from the whole of the society. Most of the ISKCON is right now primarily based in Grahastha ashram. And that's where both His Grace DwarkaDhish Prabhu and Her Grace Vishakha Mataji is adding tremendous value. They have been part of the Grahastha Vision team for almost more than 20-25 years. They have been counseling Grahasthas for similar amount of time. They themselves are successfully married for 35 plus years. As we know, it's not we recently know that DwarkaDhish Prabhu was not well, and in spite of that, both Mataji and Prabhuji has traveled very extensively, and I was also coming to know that after they go back to India, they have a very extensive travel to basically guide all the Grahasthas actually. So this is a tremendous contribution. I mean to say, we know that there are so many monks who come, but we all are Grahasthas, and we need the guidance, and that's what both of them are doing. So let's sincerely appreciate and thank both of them by loudly chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Also, tomorrow, 7:30, we'll again sharply begin this second part of the series. And you already know what type of bhaktis are going to be discussed, so be prepared for it. So, Hare Krishna.